Amen. Thank you very much, Mina, for giving us the opening prayer. Without wasting more time, I would now like to call on Nana Boachi Bwampong, the country lead of the Ocean Cities Ghana, to give us a welcome address.
Thank you very much, Nanaya. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for being here. Am I audible?
Yes.
Please.
Good. So it is with.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is great to welcome you on
Loud
behalf
and
of
clear.
the Ocean Centers Ghana, hosted by the United Nations Global Compact and supported by the Lloyd's Register Foundation, to a conversation that honestly could not be more timely or more important. Shipping is changing fast. New fuels, new technologies, and new expectations are arriving all at once. But before we get carried away talking about ammonia, methanol, automation, maritime autonomous surface shipping, and everything else, it is worth grounding ourselves in one simple truth. And that is, none of this works without people. Every transition in our industry sits on the shoulders of the men and women who run our ships, teach in our academies, respond to emergencies, and keep maritime operations moving every day. And that is why we are gathered here today. We know that alternatives to conventional fossil fuels will define the next era of shipping. Ammonia is one of the leading options, and it offers real emission benefits. But it also brings significant safety risks, toxicity, corrosivity, and the potential for fires and explosions. These are not theoretical. They affect seafarers, ports, other vessels, and coastal communities. Managing them, therefore, requires deep technical knowledge, strong operational discipline, and emergency preparedness that many systems are still catching up to. The IMO's MSC Circular 1687 gives us early direction. It outlines goal and function-based safety provisions for ships using ammonia as fuel and aligns with the IGF code and core SOLAS principles. It does not answer every question, but it shows where the world is heading. And with the near zero fuel vessels already in operation, we cannot sit back and wait for the full STCW review to conclude. Safety is not something we negotiate into existence later. We need interim measures, national guidance, and stronger institutional capacity now. And if history is any guide, we cannot afford to be reactive. Our industry has often waited for tragedy before acting. The Titanic gave birth to SOLAS. The Torrey Canyon oil spill led to MARPOL. The Achille Lauro hijacking pushed the world toward the SUA Convention, while the Herald of Free Enterprise disaster forced the creation of the ISM Code. Time and again, lives and property were lost before reforms arrived. We have a chance today to break this pattern and get ahead of the risks. We do not need a catastrophic ammonia incident to force our hand. We can choose a different path. Here in Ghana and across emerging economies, our realities add another layer, and that is aging infrastructure, insufficient simulation capacity, instructor shortages, and persistent sea time challenges. Yet, we expect our seafarers to step confidently into a future that is more technical and more demanding than anything we have seen before. If we do not invest in people, the transition simply will not work. That is why I'm glad we are all here today. We have maritime education training institutions, the RMU is here, regulators, the GMA is here, the Fisheries Commission is here, unions, we have the GMNOA, recruitment and placement agencies, we have World Recruit and others, and industry all here in this virtual room. We will hear shortly from the Lloyd's Register Decab Hub on what the future seafarer actually needs to know and do. And our panel will get into practical questions: how to train, how to prepare, and how to create real pathways for cadets, women, and young professionals who want to build a career in this evolving industry. My hope is that today's dialogue helps us sharpen our priorities, build new partnerships, and walk away with clear, realistic steps that put people at the center of maritime transition. Thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to an honest and energetic conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. So moving on, would like to call on Miss Mina Pokiachiman to give us a presentation on the UN Global Compact. Miss Mina Pokiachiman is the Participant Engagement and Outreach Manager of the Global Compact here in Ghana. Over to you, Mina.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Nanaya. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to introduce you all to the UN Global Compact. I believe for those of us who have participated in our previous workshops, you are familiar with this presentation, but this should serve as really a reminder of the work and the impact that the Global Compact is making. So, what is the UN Global Compact? The UN Global Compact is currently the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. And we have the aim of working with businesses and non-business actors to accelerate and scale global impact. For us at the UN Global Compact, we work towards the Sustainable Development Goals, but we have what we call the principle-based approach towards the global sustainability effort. And this approach stems from our 10 principles, which are built on four main pillars. We have human rights, labor rights, environmental sustainability, and anti-corruption. We believe that as a business, you have to ensure that regardless of the intervention you are introducing in your business to integrate sustainability, you have to ensure your actions and inactions as a company is not undermining any fundamental human rights. The same as labor, you are working with a workforce that needs to be protected as the ocean centers are focused on the safety. So how are you ensuring that the safety of your workforce is rest assured? The environmental sustainability as a business, whether you are into service or goods production, you have some direct and indirect environmental footprints. So how have you positioned yourself to address the negative footprints you are having on the environment? And of course, it's a business, so money is changing hands, resources are moving from one jurisdiction to the other. So the question is, do you have in place any anti-corruption mechanisms? So if not, then it's very crucial because you cannot be sustainable if you are corrupt as a business. So for us at the UN Global Compact, a business signing on to the compact is saying that you are going to abide by these 10 principles and also work towards the attainment of the global development agenda. Moving on, just to give you a general overview about the size of our footprint geographically. So for us at the UN Global Compact, we are a global family which currently boasts of over 20,000 business participants that have pledged commitment to our 10 principles. And we have close to 4,000 non-business participants who also we work with to scale our impact and our efforts as well. We are currently in over 160 plus countries. We have 60 plus country network, which means that within the 160 countries that we work in, we have 60 secretariats, which Ghana is part of. Then, of course, to collectively with our participating companies, we have over 147 million employees. So then in terms of scale, in terms of geographical footprint, you know that, okay, once you join the UN Global Compact, you have presence in these areas. Then looking at in Africa, we currently have 10 local networks in Africa, and we have 4 expansion countries. So here are a list of the countries we operate in Africa. So DRC, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, amongst the others you see here. So if you have a business partner in any of these countries that are members of the UN Global Compact, we are able to support you and do the intros, among other things that you may want to do with companies within these countries. So moving on from our geographical side and knowing our mandate and what we focus on. So maybe you may be wondering, okay, what do I stand to gain when I become a member of the UN Global Compact? We enable companies in several ways, but there are 3 main outcomes we expect that you achieve when you join the UN Global Compact. The first is we provide you the support to drive impact on specific goals. Then 2, we expect that once you become a member of the UN Global Compact, assessing our tools and resources, you'll be able to scale your ambitious actions. Then finally, you make measurable progress. It's not a matter of you greenwashing and going about describing yourself as a sustainable business, but we are able to help you to track your progress and to be able to have data to support your narrative. So moving on, I'm going to provide details of each of these outcomes, how we help you to achieve these main outcomes. So on the driving of impact on specific goals, we have 7 main areas that we focus on at the UN Global Compact. We have human rights, labor and decent work, climate action, anti-corruption, gender equality, SDG integration, and transformational governance. So the question may be, why these 7 goals? We opted for these 7 goals because we believe that when we focus on these goals, we engage businesses on these goals, we will be able to have an outsized effect on our outcomes. So if as a business, for no reason at all, you focus on this, you realize that you have a very reformed structures and transformative structures that support the growth and the impact that the company is making. So for instance, SDG integration. For those of us in this part of the world, usually when I approach a business, they'll tell you, oh, okay, we have a foundation that manages CSRs. But now the conversation, sustainability is no more voluntary. It has become mandatory. So stakeholders and even investors want to see how you have integrated SDGs into your business operation. So for us at the UN Global Compact, we provide you with the tools and the resources you need to be able to integrate the SDGs into your business model. Then let's take the transformational governance as well. Regardless of how, as a sustainability head or as the impact head of your company, if you do not have the buy-in of the leadership and management of the company, you cannot really have an intensive integration of SDGs. So our transformational governance tools and support helps you to engage the leadership of your company right from the board level to the C-suite management, amongst others. So we have tailor-made events that engages the heads of corporation. So then you are able to come up with insightful and policies and strategies that support your sustainability agenda. Then now that we know how we help you scale your actions and drive impact, how do we help you to scale your ambitious action? So maybe as a company, you've already set some sustainable targets for yourself. How do you drive action on that? So we help you to drive actions by fostering connection by creating a learning platform for you and also by giving you the platform to show leadership. So on the bit of fostering connections, we do this through our event, and clearly this is a key example. Today's webinar session, you realize that we have stakeholders from different aspects. We are having government representatives here, we are having private sector representatives here, and of course we are having NGOs and civil society representative here. So gives you a fair idea of our events, both in person and virtual events, where we help you to partner and collaborate with other key stakeholders that can support your sustainability journey. Then on the learning bit, if you follow the sustainability conversation for a while, you realize how dynamic it is. There are new policies coming up every day. COP30 just happened. There are a lot of government policies that have been formulated out of COP. There are a lot of regulators are making new demands on businesses. And so the question is, how do you keep up to date on these new trends within the space? We provide you learning opportunities for such. So for learning opportunities, we have the go-to one is our academy, where it's a learning portal where you get to train all your employees on the 7 thematic areas I mentioned earlier. So if you want to set science-based targets for yourself as a company, where do you start from? You can assign some of your employees to pick a course in science-based targets, which you can find on the Academy platform. I mentioned SDG integration. You want to know how to integrate sustainability into your model. You don't even know where to start. Are you now going to hire a consultant? You can train your staff from our Academy portal to help you know where to start from and where to end. Then we also, aside the Academy platform, we also have our peer learning groups. This is an opportunity for you to engage and interact with other companies that have similar goals, sustainability goals. So for instance, you want to mainstream gender, you can sign on to our gender equality peer learning group, where other companies that are working to mainstream gender meet to interact, to discuss the challenges and look at the best practices that you can adapt in your context. Then we have the accelerator program. Sustainability goes hand in hand with innovation. And so the accelerator program gives you the opportunity to go through a 6 to 9 month program where you get to find ways and means to address the sustainability challenges that you are facing as a company. Then, of course, when you come to the leadership bit, we have the opportunity for you to be part of our policy advocacy group and our campaigns. Currently, we are running our Forward Faster campaign, where we believe that we are really not hitting our targets when it comes to the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is a campaign that we have come up with to garner the efforts of private sector to intensify their effort and their actions towards sustainability. Then finally, we have the Think Lab. So maybe for you, you are saying that, Mina, we are well advanced on our sustainability journey, and we even create content and influence businesses' actions within the space that we work in. So how do I benefit from my membership to the UN Global Compact? The Think Lab is the ideal offer that we have for you, where we invite the well-advanced companies and businesses to join our Think Labs, where we create thought leadership content and influence the kind of tools and resources we develop to support our members. So once you're a member of the UN Global Compact, you get the opportunity to be invited to join our Think Labs to direct the content and the thought leadership programs that we create. Moving on, our programs are also tailored to help you meet your ESG target. I've been to a number of ESG programs this year, and the question most company asks is that already the economy is making it hard for us to meet our target, and now you're making ESG reporting and all that mandatory. So how do we meet it? So the UN Global Compact then tailors its program such that once you are able to utilize our programs and our resources, you end up meeting your ESG targets. So when we take the environment, for instance, oceans is very crucial or on top of affairs. We have water stewardship, we have nature and biodiversity conservation, and for climate change, we have programs on adaptation, mitigation, net zero, amongst many others. Then when you pick the social bit of the ESG framework, we focus on gender, human rights, labor and decent work helps you to meet the S component of it. Then on the governance side, we look at anti-corruption, collective action, partnership, bribery, amongst others. So how do you even put in place whistleblower policy in place? How do you protect these people? All are in there. Then transformational governance. How do you build strong institutions as a company? How do you form collective actions with other businesses within your industry or your sector? Then beyond fulfilling your ESG targets, we have what we call the enablers. We believe that as a business, as a company, you may have the strong desire to want to work towards sustainability. But if your finances are not decent enough or you don't have enough to be able to do all these things. So then we saw that there is the need to have some enablers in place to ease your SDG integration process. So we have courses on sustainable finance, we have programs on SDG integration, then we have CEO-centric events as well, then we have sustainable supply chain programs. Then now that we know how to drive actions, then to our final outcome, how do we make sure that at the end of the day, our participants are making measurable progress and so they don't find themselves greenwashing? We do this through our reporting mechanism, which is internationally recognized sustainability reporting tool that exists. So we have a digital platform where our members report on their effort every year. So every year, the window opens from 1st of April to the 31st of July. Our members report on their effort, and these reports are open to the public. So if you check on any of our members, you can go onto our website and you see the reports that they have submitted. Then we have ongoing support as well. So whenever there is a change in policies, there is a change in the dynamics, we provide support for our businesses to understand the new changes that are happening. So I mentioned COP30 just happened. So what happens is that this month we are going to break down the conversation that happened at COP to make it business centric. So how that's the policies that were decided on at COP going to impact businesses, then we show businesses how they can navigate through these new policies. If you're a business and you work within the EU market, you know that there are new changes within the EU green laws. So now there is the omnibus proposal that is on the table. And this year, we've had a number of webinars breaking down what the omnibus proposal is about and its impact on businesses. So if you are looking to do business within the EU market, by the time you even start, you are well acquainted with what the proposal is all about and its impact on your work. Then for our reporting portal, we have integrated a peer benchmarking component to which where you can have a visualization of where businesses are investing in or which areas businesses are focusing on now. So this is also an opportunity to help you to know, okay, maybe for Ghana, we are not really prioritizing climate change. However, because I'm working with international stakeholders, these are the priority areas that can help you to know where to invest in moving forward. So these are the main areas that we help you to be able to make measurable progress. Now, I believe that at this point, I've been able to convince you on the value in joining the UN Global Compact. Beyond being part of a global family, you also have critical tools that can help you scale your sustainability efforts and make progress in your journey. So then, how do you become a member of the UN Global Compact? We just have 3 simple steps for you. Just go onto our website, unglobalcompact.org/join. You will see our application guidelines. So it helps you to know what the application process is all about. It gives you a template or a prototype of the application document, so you know what kind of information that will be required from you, so that before you even go onto the portal to start applying, you know the information that you need, so you are able to put it in one place, so that when you go, within 5 to 10 minutes, you are done with your application process. Okay, what are the key documents that is required from you? We just need you to upload a copy of your registration document as part of your application portal. And then we have what we call the letter of commitment, in which you state that you understand our 10 principles and you're committed to integrating these principles in your business model. So this letter is supposed to be signed by your highest executive. So the good thing is that this letter is currently integrated into the portal. So when you get to that part of the application, all that you need, with the permission of the highest executive in your company, you write their names and you provide their details. So automatically they become the signature to the letter. Then, of course, you complete your online application. If you have any challenge, if you made a mistake in the course of the application, don't worry, you don't have to reapply. The application team will reach out to you if they need any additional information or clarity from your end. So then, the final aspect, aside joining, submitting your annual report, the other responsibility that comes with the membership to the UN Global Compact is the payment of the annual contribution. This is charged on your annual revenue. We have the calculator on our website, so you go just key in your annual revenue and the calculator will let you know how much you are going to pay. As you see on my screen, you can see that we have local network fees which will apply. This means that with these tiers, how much you are going to pay is determined at the local level. So if you want the local breakdown, it's either you use the calculator or you reach out to us and we will provide you with the country network schedule. But it's not much of your revenue. It's usually less than 1% of your revenue. In Ghana, we have our lowest rate is 250 USD per annum, and you have the opportunity to pay in cedis. So yes, that's basically it about us at the UN Global Compact. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, and also you can write to us and I can share with you the full details. I will put my email in the chat box. So if you want our intensive value proposition, I can share with you. And we can also schedule a one-on-one meetings to know how we can help you integrate your sustainability agenda. Thank you so much for your audience. Nana, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mina, for an insightful presentation. We also encourage all businesses here to take this opportunity, take the bold step, and become participants of the largest corporate sustainability initiative here. So now moving on, I'd like to call on Nana Boache once again to also give us an overview on the Ocean Centers Ghana. Over to you, Nana.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Slide. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to run through the ocean centers real quick. We'll make the presentation available so that you can delve into it deeper. I have to rush through in view of the time constraints. And so by way of the presentation, on the first slide, let me begin with the importance of the ocean. So we know that the ocean is the backbone of global trade and a major source of food, jobs, energy, and coastal livelihoods. And it's also a natural system that regulates our climate and supports biodiversity. For countries like ours, the ocean is not just a resource, it is an economic engine. We have about 7% of our GDP coming from the oceans. We have about 10 million people into fisheries. Although we are yet to look at the other areas like the renewable energy, the wind farms in the oceans that you see, the coastal tourism, the biotechnology, and the mineral resources, the ocean plays a very vital role in the economy of Ghanaians. But I must say that with all these benefits comes responsibility. And a growing ocean economy depends on people who can work and innovate safely. Without safety, sustainability, and economic progress cannot hold. So we need to keep that at the back of our minds. Then the next slide is on the need to address safety gaps in emerging ocean economies, and that is putting safety at the heart of sustainability. And we should know that as the ocean industries expand, safety systems have not always grown with them. New technologies, fuel transitions, climate impacts, and operational complexity are introducing new risks, and we cannot afford to ignore. The cost of accidents is steep, not only in human terms, but in productivity and national capacity. So if emerging ocean economies want to grow, safety must be foundational. And this has been aptly captured by the UN Global Compact. And they have put it as safety is a precondition of all sustainable business practices. You cannot build green, inclusive, resilient ocean industries if workers are unsafe or if infrastructure is weak. So embedding safety early prevents setbacks and provides long-term value. And that is the essence of this quote by Eric Gekieski of the UN Global Compact. The ocean centers, what are they? So it's a partnership initiative created to help countries navigate this safety sustainability transition. And they bring together the convening power of the Ocean Stewardship Coalition of the UN Global Compact, and then the safety expertise of the Lloyd's Register Foundation. So it's a partnership designed to support real practical progress. If you look at the numbers in the Ocean Coalition, and then the amount of expertise that has been built by the Lloyd's Register Foundation in the area, it's a partnership that is designed to support real practical progress. So the Ocean Centers is simply a multi-stakeholder platform that supports a transition towards safer and more sustainable ocean economies. We should not look at them as buildings because they are collaboration platforms that bring stakeholders together to break silos and connect national priorities to global knowledge and evidence. Powered by multiple voices. So the Ocean Centers welcomes all voices. We have regulators, industry, academia, unions, finance institutions, youth groups, and community leaders all sitting at the table. This diversity is intentional, and then sustainable solutions will only work when they reflect the realities of everyone involved. When people are involved, they have ownership, and that is what brings greater success. And so the Ocean Centers is powered by voices of each and every person. At the outset, there are seven ocean centers, and these are located in the geographical regions that is showing on the slide. In Africa, we have Ghana and Kenya, and then we have the others in Bangladesh, Philippines, Indonesia, India, and Brazil. What we recognize is that all these countries are emerging ocean economies, and these countries are shaping the future of the ocean industries and will offer practical insights in where safety challenges and opportunities really lie. How the ocean centers will accelerate progress. So the ocean centers will help countries identify the risks early, shape safer and more resilient practices, unlock blue finance, upgrade skills and standards, and build climate-ready ocean industries. Everything is grounded in locally led leadership. As indicated early, these are not physical centers. It's a networked approach. And that means it's agile, low cost, and designed to respond quickly as challenges evolve. Action areas. The action areas of the center now are the areas listed: shipping and ports, fishing and aquaculture, offshore renewables, finance and investment. And we are focusing on these 4 priority sectors where safety and sustainability gaps are visible. Why the ocean industries? One, we look at the economic importance of the oceans. If you take a country like Ghana, we are so much dependent on imports. Our food, medical needs all come from the oceans. And so the economic importance of the ocean economy cannot be underestimated. Also, we look at the global trade and the supply chain. Shipping really is the only cost-effective way of moving a great number of goods over any long distance cheaply, comparably. And so it's an area that is also very, very important. Then we can also look at the high accident risk. The studies show that the industry is a very high accident prone area. If you look at one of the ocean economy sectors, like the fisheries, you realize that the ratio is about 137 deaths to every 100,000. And the next in line, which is logging is at 97 per 100,000. So this also goes to reinforce the fact that this very important industry is inherently risky, and we need to do something to reduce these numbers. Additionally, there are a lot of knowledge gaps, and then there's the climate vulnerability that comes with it. How to join the ocean centers? I'm going to make it really snappy because I think we are behind time. So you can join as a member, knowledge partner, or an allied partner. depending on the role and interest. The platform is flexible and open. So the benefits, there are different slides for each of the membership criteria, but then I'll put it together. The membership will help shape national conversations and gain access to workshops, projects, and Blue Finance guidance. Knowledge partners contribute research and technical insight, and then the ally partners stay close to emerging findings and global dialogues. Each pathway offers visibility, collaboration, and influence. And then joining the Ocean Centers connects organizations and individuals to the world's largest sustainability network, offering policy engagement, tools, and global recognition. We also have the opportunity to integrate with the Ocean Stewardship Coalition, and this creates a direct pathway from national activity to global influence, ensuring local priorities shape international ocean sustainability discourse, and that is a very critical one there. So beyond the projects, the centers host events, meetings, and then knowledge exchanges that help build a national safety culture across the oceans. In conclusion, I would say that the Ocean Centers is a good initiative that helps to imbue or imbibe safety into the ocean economy, and I would encourage and urge all the voices to participate and join in the work of the Ocean Centers. I thank you, and I urge you to visit oceancenters.com for more information. And most importantly, let's convene and work together to place safety at the heart of our ocean future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana. That was
you have the floor.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Nana. That was a very detailed and insightful presentation. Also, in case any of you missed any parts of the presentation, please do not worry. We will share it right after the session. Now, moving on, we'll now take a presentation by Anastasia Kovetari on the future seafarer skills, safety, and competency requirements in the wake of shipping's transition to net zero fuels. Anastasia is the senior lead human competency for the Human Safety and Risk team of the Lloyd's Register Maritime Decarbonization Hub, with professional expertise in managing projects related to GHG emission reduction, new fuels adoption, and workforce training for shipping's green transition. She's held several positions as environmental specialist, product manager, and project manager in Lloyd's Register's marine and offshore business. Welcome, Anastasia, and over to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to join you today. Let me first of all share my slides. I would just need you to to do a thumbs up if you hear me okay, if you can see my slides. Okay. So first of all, as I said, it's an honor to participate to this initiative, to the workshop. We have had another presentation at the Decarb Hub and the Lloyd's Register Foundation for the Ocean Centers, a truly impressive, I would say, initiative by the LR Foundation in strengthening the capacity in Africa. So People at the Helm is the title of the presentation. For the next 20 minutes, we will navigate how strengthening seafarer education skills and recruitment for a sustainable blue economy can be achieved, whether it is feasible, and what actions and steps have we taken at the Decarb Hub collectively through the Maritime Just Transition Task Force project with our partners to make this a reality. I will go straight to the content of the presentation, being mindful of the time. We have said that there are many barriers in many emerging maritime economies. We have outdated training curricula, not only in Africa, but elsewhere globally. That is the major challenge that we face when we discuss about seafarers training. We have insufficient simulation and practical training facilities, shortage of instructors worldwide, and limited sea time opportunities, especially for the women. So we need to address in a holistic context seafarer training and all the aspects and side effects that this has for the maritime industry. Let me introduce first of all the Lloyd's Register Maritime Decarbonization Hub and the links it has with the group and with the foundation. I'll be very short. So the Decarb Hub is a not-for-profit initiative, as you know, established in 2020. It is a partnership between the Lloyd's Register Group, which has a commercial hat, and the Lloyd's Register Foundation with a strong vision of engineering a safer world. So with the shared mission to accelerate the transition to a safe, sustainable, and human-centric, this is the new element that we have added towards zero-emission maritime sector. What we bring together here is the vision of the Lloyd's Register Foundation in engineering the safer world and making those interventions possible wherever around the globe there is a need, and especially in capacity building activities like the ones with the ocean centers, and the LR Group's deep technical expertise that is drawn from operational excellence and advisory. So the energy transition in shipping is complex, as we already know. It requires both system-level thinking and practical on-the-water solutions that usually industry players share with us. So the Decarb Hub lies in the middle. We convene initiatives that aim to close that gap, to share the results and collect the feedback by stakeholders from across the maritime supply chain and move the needle a bit further in raising awareness, disseminating results, giving the confidence and the trust in stakeholders of building partnerships to make the transition possible. So very briefly, I'm not going to analyze this a lot. This is briefly our theory of change. So this is anchored in our 4 guiding principles. We develop evidence-based research always. We act at the system level, as I mentioned before. So we don't treat maritime decarbonization in isolation, but as a system whereby all links should be collectively working together. So we see alignment, the need of alignment across energy, finance, and industry. One sector or one part of the sector cannot bring the results that we long for. We are driven by always safety first motto and driven by impact. So we focus only on pieces of work that unlocks the real change, that remove the barriers to decarbonization, to effective training, which is also the subject of this presentation. So in this respect, we remove systematic barriers, which are the safety blind spots, especially when we are dealing with new fuels. Methanol, ammonia, hydrogen are the ones that attract the most attention currently. We spot the finance disconnects, aiming to remove those as well. Fragmented demand signals through the green corridors cluster that we overlook, and equity gaps that leave Global South behind in maritime decarbonization. So we drive human safety and risk programs under this umbrella of programs. One key element has been the competency development. And here, under this umbrella also lies the Maritime Just Transition Task Force training project for seafarers in decarbonization, which we will cover shortly. So what success looks like with these system signals is that we produce risk-based fuel guidelines and appear in classification rules. And the same we do with training provisions. We see a human system risk evidence that we need to submit to the regulators, and all our work is based on risk assessments. Moving on to the Maritime Just Transition Task Force, the flagship project that had at its core people at its core of the decarbonization agenda, a cross-industry coalition, the first of its kind, that brought together industry and social partners on seafarers' rights, with equitable transition being as a cornerstone of the project. The project has now been concluded. It ran through from 2023 to July 2024 with a public release of the outputs and the training deliverables during the London International Shipping Week this past September in London. So the Maritime Just Transition Task Force, as I said, is the first cross-industry coalition, a manifestation really of commitment, as you can see on the slide, by policymakers, associations, and industry partners. It comprised of core project partners, so it was funded by the Lloyd's Register Foundation, supported heavily by the IMO, and led by the UN Global Stewardship Coalition of the UN Global Compact, together with International Chamber of Shipping, International Federation of Transport Workers, WMU, the World Maritime University, that served as an academic lead in the initiative, and Lloyd's Register Decarbonization Hub, LRDecarb Hub in short, which led the technical part of the work. So we served as a technical lead in the whole project. You can see many logos here because the output of this project has been a successful one due to the wide participation from industry stakeholders, from academia, from flag administrations, from ship owners, charterers, original equipment manufacturers, associations like SGMF, Maersk Mckinney Moller Center. You can see some big names there. They have all contributed to the work that has been published this September, and this is a big success. They were all part of an action group. They were given the chance to participate in the actual drafting of training material for ammonia, methanol, and hydrogen, and also review the same material before it is released in order to integrate and reflect their operational experience into the frameworks that were shared with the public. So when we talk about seafarer training, what is our challenge? There are two main challenges that we have identified before the outset of the project. Challenge number one, there is a sheer number of seafarers in need of enhanced training. According to a study that was undertaken by DNV in Maritime Just Transition Task Force Phase 1, up to 800,000 seafarers will need upskilling and reskilling by the mid-2030s. This number may be exacerbated a bit compared to the vessels that have already been delivered and operate on purely low and zero carbon fuels. But these are the estimates that we currently have in hand. How was this addressed by the task force? We built credible collaborative leadership amongst cross-industry coalition members, as we said before, and we produced training frameworks, training structures that will create alignment across the whole stakeholders of the maritime supply chain. The next challenge was defining the transition pathway. So current IMO training frameworks do not provide a global baseline standard for green fuels, for ammonia, methanol, and hydrogen. So they only provide standards for LNG that are reflected on the IGF code and certification requirements and training provisions reflected in the STCW convention. So nothing there in terms of training provisions about the new fuels. How was this addressed by the Maritime Just Transition Task Force? We had an engagement with the regulators closing this gap. So there has been decided that the output of the task force training project would be feeding into the regulatory process of the IMO in drafting training provisions along with the safety provisions being addressed and agreed at the IMO level. So here you can see the training project for seafarers in decarbonization, the objectives and the output. So what we really produced was training frameworks and learning materials targeted at seafarers at a basic and advanced level, in accordance or similar to the learning materials that currently exists as an IMO model course for conventional fuels, and also instructor handbooks, which is effectively what we call the train the trainer handbook. So not only the learning materials for ammonia, methanol, and hydrogen, but also the train the trainer materials for to be used by instructors. We then had a rollout of the Train the Trainer program trial under the auspices of the IMO at MTCC Asia that took place in Shanghai in April 2025. That was a big success because maritime technology cooperation centers aim at these capacity building activities, filling these gaps at the areas of Africa, Asia, Caribbean, Latin America, and the Pacific. There are plans for further rollouts monitored and funded by the IMO in other MTCC regions. So you can see here a holistic approach, a holistic move towards establishing a global baseline training standards for seafarers working on vessels that use methanol, ammonia, and hydrogen. So they demonstrate the equitable part of the global energy transition as well, giving the opportunity effectively to seafarers to secure their mobility across different ship types and different industry segments. So the role of the Decarb Hub acting as a technical lead was the fact that we summarized here on this slide. First of all, we led the identification, the mapping exercise of the new competencies required for the use of methanol, ammonia, and hydrogen as marine fuels, because moving them around as cargo is a totally different thing. So we led a comprehensive analysis in order to identify the core competencies and training requirements that would be needed for seafarers and shore-based personnel operating on vessels using these fuels. We then had organized 12 international hybrid workshops, virtual, across the maritime ecosystem with all the stakeholders that I have been mentioning before, with more than 100 participants in those sessions. And this led to some recommendations that surpassed 500 in number, and these were reflected in a summary report that was first launched at Crew Connect Global at the conference that is specifically targeting seafarers last November 2024. So that was the public rollout of the recommendations of the competencies that we came up with. That seafarers will need to have in order to safely work on vessels that are powered by methanol, ammonia, and hydrogen. Then we had training materials developed, instructor handbooks also drafted, and these were launched at London International Shipping Weeks. So what we did there is we translated the frameworks and the recommendations into practical teaching tools that are available now for the whole world, for maritime training institutes, for flag administrations, and the end users themselves, which are the seafarers. Some recommendations emanating from the workshops are shown here on the slide. When we talk about methanol, we talk about higher flammability that requires upgraded detection and safety systems on board. So training must cover toxicity risks, corrosion issues, material compatibility to ensure that crews understand how methanol behaves differently from the conventional fuels. We need different PPE, different safety protocols that are tailored to methanol's unique hazards. Moving on to ammonia, of course, toxicity is number one risk and hazard here. The key recommendations was, of course, that we need to have robust emergency response capability and processes in place that are always followed. Certain lessons to be learned by land-based industries for ammonia should also need to be taken, and enhanced PPE requirements has also been highlighted in all the workshops that took place for ammonia as a marine fuel. Process safety measures, also a key area of concern. There is a project underway at this point whereby it is only focused on process safety management for ammonia as a marine fuel alone. So there is also a clear training gap there, including boil-off gas management and ammonia containment systems. There are lessons to be learned and have been learned from the use of LNG as a marine fuel, containment systems, and all this discussion about hazards was initiated 10, 15 years ago about LNG as a marine fuel. Now these lessons can be crossed over to ammonia as a marine fuel. And then hydrogen, we had the key recommendations there as well. We have high flammability that requires new detection and safety systems as well, and extra care is needed with liquid and compressed hydrogen. There has also been acknowledged that we carry limited expertise, operational experience and expertise when it comes to hydrogen, especially liquid hydrogen. Therefore, we have titled the deliverables on hydrogen. So the hydrogen training frameworks have been titled as provisional. As industry builds upon operational experience, this will also mature in time. This table has been submitted to the IMO subcommittee that deals with human training and human element training and watchkeeping, HTW11, last February 2025, at the IMO headquarters for review. Essentially, what you can see on these slides is the competencies as reflected and listed in the IGF code for LNG as a marine fuel, and then the knowledge, understanding, and proficiency, what we call in short the KUPs, how these are different or more demanding for the certain fuels we were discussing in the project for ammonia, methanol, and hydrogen. So you can see from this abstract from the table that we submitted to HTW subcommittee for approval that there are going to be heightened, more variant competencies required, more skill sets required, a need for safety leadership to be demonstrated at all times, and also different risks and hazards that should be always controlled. This is a dissemination and stakeholder engagement slide in order to show you that we have been taking part in several conferences, forums at the IMO, at COP, in order to disseminate the results of the progress of the task force training project, in order to raise the awareness in different stakeholders that the IMO is indeed taking the lead in drafting training provisions alongside safety provisions, something that we always highlight. Of course, recognizing the fact that there is still a way to go. These fuels have not been available. They are not available. We still have a lot to learn until these fuels mature within the supply chain. But with these dissemination efforts, we truly believe we have set the context for the frameworks to be adopted and tested and validated. This is from the world's first train-the-trainer program that took place in Shanghai in April 2025. As I said before, World Maritime University-led event. We had stakeholders and instructors that underwent a 5-day training course, like a proper train-the-trainer. The importance and the impact of this train-the-trainer is that many maritime training institutes lack instructors at the moment with hands-on experience or structured materials for these emerging fuels. So having the first rollout really set the base for the future train-the-trainer courses, and it is an effort of alignment, which at the end of the day, it is what we are aiming for. aligned structures in train-the-trainer courses, in learning material, and in the pedagogical tools that we use to train our seafarers about these new molecules. Please feel free to scan the code and download the training frameworks, basic and advanced, from the website of the Maritime Just Transition Task Force. They are all there. They are for you to download, to familiarize yourselves, to put them to test bed in every case possible. For training institutes, there is a call to action to really start building training courses on the back of these frameworks. As I said before, we'll have influenced the regulator, so the IMO, through the submission of these competencies to the IMO subcommittee for that deals with training. So there is a long way to go, but we have a touch point there. So please feel free to download and use the frameworks as you deem fit. Apart from the core deliverables, there has also been another deliverable that we are very proud of. These are the guidelines for familiarization programs. This is a deliverable that is aimed at shipping companies themselves for the familiarization programs they currently have. For any crew member that goes on board the vessel, they need to provide a familiarization module that is ship specific, specifically tailored to the systems that are installed on board the vessel. So we have also tried to align efforts and to provide a handbook, a Bible, of how or which areas these familiarization courses should address at a minimum level. This will eventually live in the SMS manual of the ship. It's mostly related to the ISM code. And in this HCW 12 session of the IMO, the subcommittee for training, there is going to be a submission to the IMO for adoption and approval of these guidelines as the baseline guidelines for familiarization courses, similarly to what happened with the training frameworks. Pathways to impact. We have delivered training materials with a call to action. The call to action refers primarily to flag administrations and maritime training institutes to start using the frameworks, to give us feedback on how effective it is, to start building actual training modules and training actual seafarers. We need to assess as a next step how effective the training is, whether it addresses the needs of seafarers, whether it addresses the needs of companies, and whether implementation can also be aligned under a global standard and not be fragmented as it used to be before. That would be a real accelerator in having a baseline, a goal-based training standard, which is very, very important when we are talking about these fuels that have different risk profiles and that needs heightened attention. So a couple of slides more to finish off the presentation. When we talk about fair and practical global transition for seafarers in accordance with just and equitable principles, there is a risk here that we want to highlight it, the fragmentation in seafarer training and safety at the end of the day. Given what happened, given the outcome at the extraordinary session of MEPC recently, we have examined the risk of fragmented safety systems, fragmented initiatives. We want to move away from this. So based on the outcome of the last extraordinary session of the MEPC at the IMO, we are seeing now regional initiatives going forward and fragmented implementation of policy measures. And this is something we would rather avoid when it comes to training, because training affects seafarers, affects their safety. And for this reason, we would call for certification alignment between flag administrations, access, equal rights to access. So seafarers with one global training standard will be able to serve on a vessel powered by methanol, on a vessel powered by ammonia, on a vessel powered by hydrogen, with only a few days top-up course, minimizing the need for length courses being a requirement. Also, we will not have different flag states expecting different skills for the same fuel or for the same vessel type, which again can accelerate the decarbonization when it comes to people and to human element. What we must do to make the transition fair and practical. So, first of all, align on global competency baseline. Share the training tools, the models and insights, so please feel free to download the training frameworks. Support capacity building in developing regions, like the workshop we're having today. Creative pathways for mutual recognition of certificates across flag administrations. And maintain a momentum, really, despite the regulatory uncertainty that we are now experiencing. Thank you for your time and for your attention, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Anastasia, for that presentation. It was very insightful and detailed. We now have a 5 minutes Q&A session. So if any of you have any questions or comments you'd like to pose to Anastasia, she's still here and she's ready to answer any questions you may have. You may as well just drop it in the chat box and she can also address that for you.
I'm always available if someone has any questions after the presentation. We are always happy to support UN Global Compact, and of course we know that the LR Foundation is empathetically supporting these initiatives. So we're at your disposal, even after the workshop.
Okay, thank you very much, Anastasia. Thank you for your time. We are really grateful. Now, moving on to our panel discussion for today on the theme People at the Helm, Strengthening Seafarer Education, Skills and Recruitment for a Sustainable Economy. I'd like to reintroduce, I'd like to reintroduce Nana Boachibuampong once again, who will be the moderator for the session. Thank you, and over to you, Nana.
Thank you very much, Nanaya, and thank you, Anastasia, for your presentation. Indeed, the happenings at the last year's the extraordinary session of the MEPC has slowed things down, and I think the last but two slide where you mentioned about the fragmentation in the certification regime is something that we cannot deal with as a global industry, and so it's something that the negotiators need to look at critically, because you cannot have a vessel sailing from China with a different certification regime when it gets to Ghana. So we need to have a critical look at that. Nevertheless, despite the happenings at the ES, we know that the transition will happen because member states have already agreed to the adoption of the IMO greenhouse gas strategy. It is the it is a pathway that is now being discussed, but we have all agreed to turn the curve by or around 2050. And so we need to put ourselves in readiness. Ghana, as a country that wants to position itself as a proper seafaring nation, needs to align and also ensure that they place themselves in an opportunistic place. And so looking at some of these trainings that have been developed and that will serve as a basis for some of the developments at the HTW is something that we need to look at properly, critically, and to avert our minds and stay in readiness. And so today we have a group of industry players who would help us to answer a few questions regarding how to stay in readiness. We have, and also to also discuss how we can stay as a relevant country when it comes to cadets, how to find opportunities for our teaming cadets. We have assembled persons in the industry. We have the Ghana Maritime Authority being represented by Alhaji Audu Inusa, who serves with the Maritime Services Division of the authority, and that is the division responsible for seafaring matters, including the accreditation of maritime education and training institutes. We would have discussions with them and see what the authority is doing to ensure that their METIs take steps to, introduce some of these baseline recommendations into their training and then also their certification issues. So we have Alhaji representing the Ghana Maritime Authority. He's a principal maritime administrative officer, holds a maritime affairs master's degree in education and training from the World Maritime University, and also an MPhil in sociology and a BA in political science from the University of Ghana. He has also undertaken several courses under the ILO regime regarding the MLC implementation. We would also have a representation from the Regional Maritime University, currently the premier accredited Maritime Education Training Institute. I'm aware that quite recently, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has also received some form of accreditation to run some limited courses. But we will have Mr. Alex Boatin join us from the Regional Maritime University. Mr. Boatin is a maritime logistics professional and Deputy Director of Research also at the After Policy Network. He brings in more than a decade of operational and analytical experience from MPS and now lectures at the RMU on logistics, port operations, supply chains, and smart port technologies. His research area covers sustainability and digitalization. Then we would have a representation from the union, the Ghana Merchant Navy Officers Association. They will be represented by the General Secretary, Captain Antonio Bankas, who is also very well known in the industry. Captain Bankas is an experienced master mariner with service across dry bulk, container, and multi-purpose vessels. Currently, the General Secretary of the GMNOA and a lecturer at the Maritime Safety and Security Center of the Regional Maritime University. Then finally, we would have the only lady amongst the panel breaking barriers, Miss Sandra Labi, who is the Managing Director of World Recruit Services. Miss Labi has been championing the cause of finding cadet slots for many Ghanaian seafarers. on her own. She's a human resource and organizational development professional with more than 15 years of experience across Africa and the United States. She has experience in leading workforce development and governance projects in the shipping sector and also the oil and gas, as well as the offshore sectors. She has developed HR systems, compliance frameworks, and gender diversity initiatives aligned with global labor and maritime standards. So we are honored to have this distinguished panel with us. And in view of our time constraints, we would go straight into the panel discussion. And we will begin with the Ghana Maritime Authority being the regulator. And to give a perspective on the question that I would ask, the conversation or the presentation from Anastasia has made it clear. We have baseline documents. And then the global shift toward low and zero carbon fuels is no longer a distant horizon. It is here, because I think I saw a vessel that was running on one of those fuels, and it is moving fast. We saw ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, and there are other hybrid systems. And they all introduce safety, competency, and inspection challenges that go far beyond what our current frameworks were designed for. This places the Maritime Administration at the center when you look at the limited training infrastructure, the gaps in the curricula that we currently have, and then the widening disconnect between training and then the sea time access, the Maritime Administration is placed at the center of the transition. As a regulator, you must not only interpret the evolving expectations, but you also need to translate them into practical national systems that will keep our seafarers safe, support the MET, and also ensure that Ghana remains competitive in the global labor market. With this background, the GMA, I would like to ask, as the global shift towards the near zero fuels accelerates, what updates are most urgent in our national competency and safety frameworks to stay aligned with the evolving landscape? These baseline studies that have been printed and being used as a baseline for the final outputs at the IMO. What does the authority see as the urgent updates that are required in our competency and safety frameworks? Mr. Enusa, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. With the issues currently unfolding, one thing that we must admit is that normally the Maritime Administration itself, the Maritime Education and Training Institution itself, most at times we are behind the industry. The number of the innovations that come are initiated by the industry itself, especially by classification societies, shipping companies who exploit better opportunities to ensure fuel efficiency. But with us at the Maritime Administration, what we are looking out for is issues relating to curriculum, issues relating to access, and then issues relating to the regulation itself. These three key areas. With the regulations, a number of the competencies will need to be backed by regulations to enable us administer these competencies. However, before that, somewhere last 2 years, the authority had the privilege of benefiting from certain training opportunities that the MPA, Maritime and Ports Authority of Singapore, rolled out for some seafarers, which required that seafarers who happen in Singapore may disembark and have those training free of charge at the port. It also offered opportunity for assessors at the Regional Maritime University to have the training of trainers in this field of just maritime transition as assessors. So currently, I would say that these are the areas that we as an authority have our attention on. But like I mentioned, key areas are the curriculum, the assessors, and also the regulation that will back some of these competencies. We may be able to encourage seafarers to go ahead and then take advantage of some of these opportunities that is provided by online or other key players in the industry. But until there being a comprehensive review of the convention relating to the STCW that will enable us to have a full implementation, our current strategy is to encourage the seafarers to take advantage of these opportunities that is made available, especially like what we are seeing with Lloyd's Register. Thank you.
Thank you. So the authority is interested in the issues of the curricula and the regulation itself, and has already taken opportunities at the MPA, and then the trainers courses that they have handled. That is what I have gathered from the submission.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
Exactly.
And as a follow-up, so is the authority taking steps or also looking at these baseline studies that have been undertaken and that have been issued by the DCAP Hub in connection with the IMO and also the MSc circular that has been issued by the IMO to give directives to the MTIs on preparation of curricula to at least introduce their students to some of these new alternative fuel technologies.
Yes, like I mentioned, the current strategy that the authority has adopted to expose the assessors to some of these by training the trained within the industry on these new technologies through the MPA opportunity. And then probably in the future, we may look at the curriculum design, and also if the regulation come into force, then that would be the most important to get this done. I have to add that, one thing that we need to appreciate is, especially when some of these training are at its rudimentary stage, a lot of research is ongoing And normally, considering the capital intensive of these research, maritime administration, like I said, is laid back. Now, once the data and the issues relating to education and training, assesses competencies, crystallize, we will see the full picture as far as what the authority wants to put in. And I also think that the next HTW session will offer more picture or more information on this matter. So I look forward to the authority attending the next HTW to enable us develop an authoritative and binding policy as far as this maritime just transition is concerned.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Inusa. Mr. Boateng, the RMU.
Yeah.
These
Hello, Nana.
alternative fuels are coming with new operational demands, new emergency response protocols. And these shifts place real pressure on the institution. The curricula, I know, will be, you will play a part in developing it, but I know the administration will give you some directives and some guidance on the development of the curricula. And for your audits, you may need to modernize your equipment to be able to undertake some of these new training. The gaps in our current training infrastructure and then the simulation capacity, as well as instructor readiness, are some of the biggest obstacles for emerging economies. And the RMU is part and finds itself in this this problem or this issue. In your view, or in the view of the MATI, what simulation or practical training upgrades does the RMU consider essential for equipping cadets with the competencies required?
Nana, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. In fact, based on the discussions I've listened to so far, at least it gives us a very deep insight about the speed of transformation that the maritime industry is going through. And so, as a maritime education and training institution, it is important that we also need to run in the same pace just as the industry is running, else our students will not be able to be brought to the speed they are supposed to. And so at the end of the day, when they enter the industry, they are likely to, experience what is called industry shock, because you are seeing something different from what you are taught. And so with all these in view, what Regional Maritime University is now doing is to ensure a complete overhaul of our curricula in making sure that our students or our learners would be able to be brought to speed in line with the emerging trend in the industry. And so in that regard, the institution is looking at what we term as ABCDEs. And what we mean by that is that, one, where the A actually means training our students to be able to adapt to this alternative fuels that are coming into the system. And so in that regard, we are trying to train them to understand the chemistries of these new fuels, how they react. Because when you take, for instance, hydrogen is known to have very small molecular sizes. And so if any chemical behaves in that nature, then there is the possibility of high leakage. Okay, and then ammonia, like Anastasia said, it's another potential area, but again, ammonia is also known to be highly toxic. And so how do we train our students to get themselves acquainted to some of these new fuels? So that is one emerging area, or that is one pertinent area RMU is looking at to be able to bring our students to speed. Again, we are also looking at bunkering of these alternative fuels. Of course, as vessels are now transitioning to the usage of some of these fuels, at the end of the day, they would have to bunker from one point to the other. And so it is also important to train them operationally on how to be able to transfer some of these energy from one point to the other, and the safety implications of these transfer processes. The C part also focuses on cyber security and risk management. It is important to appreciate the fact that a vessel is considered as a moving digital ecosystem. And so wherever these contemporary vessels are moving to, it's a whole digital system that is moving. And so it is also important that we train our students so well to be able to understand some of these systems very well, how they are being used, and then the implications, because of course, a hacker can hack into this system, and the moment that happens, communication becomes very challenging. And so then the vessel would have to be in distress, and then there will be a lot of issues. And so in that regard, it is also important to train our learners in cyber security and then risk management. And then the D part that RMU is looking at is digital shipboard operations. Digital shipboard operations. Now, since almost every vessel is moving digital, it is important that our learners get to know readings from sensors, the kind of data sensors are able to read, and then how to interpret those data and how to make informed decisions out of that data. And so that is one important area we are looking at. And then the E part focuses on emission management and climate compliance. We cannot afford to be going in circles. While we are bringing in alternative fuels, now we do things on board that will lead to the production of carbon dioxide again. And so it is also important to make them appreciate the fact that we have gone far. And so there is no need for us to engage in activities that would compromise the integrity of our climate. And then finally, it is also important, which is the S part, it's also important to also look at training our students to become safety leaders. The reason being that all these alternative fuels we are talking about, being it ammonia, hydrogen, methanol, LNG, and all the like, they all have different risk profiles. And so it is important to get them well acquainted with the characteristics of these fuel types, and then their safety implications or their risk profiles. And so when they are trained in that regard, it helps them to be able to operate on any vessel at all. And then you spoke about what are some of the simulation stuff we would have to put in place. I mean, this is quite emerging. And so whilst RMU is looking at overhauling the entire curricula, it is also important to look at how are we going to teach our learners on these. Since it's an emerging environment, how do we get to train them? And so we are considering simulation not as supplementary system, but rather as a primary or fundamental gateway that could help our learners to appreciate or be able to simulate what is risky in real sense. And so, you know, some of these things we are talking about are not things that can be practiced. You cannot just go on board and say, we want to simulate ammonia in an enclosed environment, so a seafarer should enter such a space, because ammonia is very toxic. And so in that regard, the only thing that could help is to get simulators that would be able to simulate or mimic the real situation, so that learners would be able to appreciate it, understand it. And so when they meet the real situation, it becomes very easy to be able to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boateng. So if from your submission, you are looking at the happenings in the industry, and then you are tailoring your curricula to suit them, and also looking at the simulation aspects. That would be one of the primary forms of delivery when these things come into full effect. And also from your ABCDES, that entails quite a lot, and I think the instructors would also need some improved capability and training. So how are you undertaking your instructor readiness to teach some of these emerging technologies and advanced safety procedures? How are you improving the knowledge of the instructors?
Okay, so thank you very much. In fact, in one of our sections where we were brainstorming about these things, we drew the conclusion that we might not be able to have, the full-time lecturers getting themselves so much abreast with some of these things suddenly. It would take some time. And so one thing we are looking at in the short term is bringing in or recruiting adjunct lecturers and then specialists in industry to come in to support us in this regard. So if I say industry, I'm looking at manufacturers who are into the production of alternative fuel engines. And so maybe a manufacturer that is into the production of engines for hydrogen, for ammonia, and for all these alternative fuels. So one thing is we are trying to bring some of these professionals on board. And then we are also looking at partnering with some parties within the industry, like, let's say, technology suppliers, classification societies, and all the like, to be able to inculcate the practical aspects of these new emerging areas into our students. So that is one critical area. And then another thing we are looking at is what is termed as industry faculty attachment. What we mean by that is, as time goes on, faculty members would be allowed to get into the industry, go there, learn for a period of time, let's say 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 months, to get yourself so much acquainted with the new knowledge, and then you come back to classroom to help in this regard. So these are very short-term approaches Regional Maritime University would want to take. But in the long term, we are also looking at, apart from standardizing our curricula, we are also looking at the trainer programs where we would be able to partner with, let's say, World Maritime University, other, maritime education and training institutions, and then even IMO, to be able to train our lecturers on these emerging areas. And then finally, we are also looking at another key area that has to do with learning how to understand the simulation softwares themselves and then being able to teach them. So looking at all this in a bigger perspective, this is what RMU is looking at in the meantime to be able to bring all learners and facilitators to speed.
Okay, those are some very tangible solutions. You have the industry faculty attachment. I think that would be very very helpful to always keep the instructors abreast with the happenings on the vessel. There are also other bodies that assist in training of the trainers, and we can also avert our minds to some of those. And then when you, through the Maritime Administration, I think you can request for some technical assistance from the International Maritime Organization. You could also have some collaborations with the MTCCs that have been set up by the IMO. The African one is in Kenya, and I think you can have some very good collaborations with them. I think also the DCAP Hub, where Anastasia works, and then the Lloyd's Register Foundation would all be of help in that regard. We'll now move on to the union. Captain Bankers.
Yes, good morning, and please, I'm here. So I'm following.
Okay, so the new changes will bring significant toll on the seafarers, and the union have a critical role in ensuring that the transition is just, fair, and protective of their rights. So the question we are posing is that, considering the transition to the fuels rapidly evolving, and then the onboard technologies, as a union, what are your key concerns regarding safety, well-being, and emergency preparedness?
Well, thank you very much, and then thanks to you, Ocean Center Global Compact, and then and Anastasia for taking us through that. But before I really can, this morning we've been talking about safety, and admittedly, the union has concerns. But before I actually answer your question, if you don't mind, just briefly, let me speak to what the union is and what its roles are. One of which is what we are doing here, collaborating and networking. That is why we have found ourselves today on the Ocean Centers platform. And you have given us the opportunity to take part in this conversation. And we say thank you very much. Another thing the union does is to see to the welfare and social benefits of seafarers, training and skill development, which is key, particularly with these new technologies on the horizon. Advocacy and representation. I mean, when it comes to safety, we are not going to compromise. It is not because we feel that, but it is because of the seafarers out there. So advocacy, and then seafarers themselves, their grievances, and then handling of disputes at the workplaces. Last but not the least, collective bargaining and negotiation to ensure that these seafarers have fair and equitable working conditions. And trust you me, these are key elements in the just transition processes, but for which it appears are missing in our part of the world, because many of our seafarers, they go to sea today without collective bargaining agreements. The Maritime Authority is still working at that, but we have still not come to a meaningful decision as to what collective bargaining agreements we should put out there for our seafarers. It's great to have Sandra also on the team here, because sometimes as representatives of the seafarers, we find it quite worrying that our crew replacement agencies put our seafarers out there only on an SCA, which does not align with the principles of the just maritime transitions. Because without a CBA, how will the seafarer be able to, even put out his or her thoughts? And for that matter, Ghanaian seafarers are really at disadvantage. And with these things coming up in the horizon, the union will not lay back and remain quiet and to see our seafarers go through the challenges that they go through. Presently, even getting the jobs is a challenge. And the root causes can be traced to the training that we are giving to the seafarers. Therefore, if these new technologies are coming in and trainers and administrators responding to questions with as though safety is something we can compromise with, and the union will beg to differ and will want to challenge all of us that although they say that globally there's shortage of lecturers, training aids, etc. No, we have to look at our environment in order for us to find solutions to the challenges there too. And the union believes that, for instance, with proper human resource management, considering the fact that RMU is nearly 65 years old, and we have chunks of alumnus out there who have even had opportunities of sailing on these type of vessels, and we are not harnessing and getting them on board to help us develop curriculums. It means that we need to really look at where we are going to. So on that note, it means the union is really, really concerned that our seafarers may not be well prepared when this chunk of vessels or this type of engines are being turned out. If we do not become a little bit more proactive in our approach to the training that we have at the premier maritime institution in the country. So in brief, without mentioning word, we are really, really concerned, and that we are willing to collaborate with all the stakeholders to ensure that our seafarers are prepared for the transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Secretary, and that is really a point from a union, because if I could, from what the General Secretary has said, safety cannot hinge on welfare issues. So you tackle the welfare issues, and then the safety aspects are likely to follow. And Mr. General Secretary, with the introduction, there's going to be continuous professional development and retraining for all the ranks of the crew. What role should unions play in ensuring that the seafarers receive fair opportunities for retraining and then continuous professional development in view of the transitions?
Yes, thank you once again. On our part as a union, I think one of the key things we do is training, of organizing symposiums and workshops and stuff like that. And if my memory serves me well, this concept of maritime just transition somewhere in 2024, we held a workshop in which I think we even invited Ghana Maritime Authority to attend, so that we started the conversation as far back as then, so that our seafarers will become aware. So basically, that is one of the things. Then, as the technology takes traction and it's becoming the norm, we shall keep track of our seafarers, and then ensure that experiences are shared, so that we could then again be organizing workshops and bringing in those who have actually had first-hand experiences on this technology, and then make sure that even with the university, they come in along to also share their first-hand experiences with the students. So training is part of our core mandate. So we will play the little that we can to support the seafarers. The seafarers also have a role to play. I mean, attitude must also change. We must develop some element of empathy and trust in to develop some kind of relationship that will transform into performance, so that the union can deliver on its goals. So, for instance, going forward, when we collect our dues, we shall set out a certain small portion to grow into where we shall put into seafarer education, as you know, the funds grow. So I want to challenge seafarers who are here and listening that indeed the Union Act is there. It is a very, very important safety net to them. They should not think that as we have been through it over the last 20 or more years, the world is changing so much that to go it alone, you cannot reach very far as we would if we are together. So for us to actually influence the industry, then the seafarers, all categories of them, must embrace the concept of belonging to an association. In fact, it is one of their first rights when you talk about the rights of to work. You understand? The first on it is they have a right to association and collective bargaining. It means that belong to an association of your choice. It doesn't mean that don't join an association. So because it is these unions that will bring the safety at the workplace to bear. In the absence of the unions, history tells us that employers had a full day. Things have improved because of HRS, etc. But however, the union's methodology has changed. It is no longer a chobwe as it used to be, but it is now about developing your intellect and contributing meaningfully to your employer's cause, and your employer will embrace you. So, yes, when it comes to education and training, it is not just about this just transition principles, etc. But it should be a holistic approach that the union will take, and it will include ensuring that they are made ready for the future technologies that are coming in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Secretary. Attitude and collaborations is the way to go. We now move to the lady breaking boundaries. Ms. Labi, recruitment and placement agencies sit at the heart of the talent pipeline, and connecting trained cadets with ship owners and ensuring that seafarers meet the evolving competency requirements. In view of this, how can the seafarer recruitment and placement agencies collaborate more closely with ship owners, educational institutions, and the authority to ensure that the workforce pipeline aligns with the skills required for these alternative fuel operations that would come?
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this panel. It's a great honor. Now, I would like to thank the General Secretary of GMNOA, for mentioning the educational fund that they are going to start. With the dues that they will receive, they will set some aside for the educational fund to have continuous training, rescaling, upscaling, retraining for the seafarers, because it is very important. Otherwise, we wanting to be the hub of seafarers in West Africa, it's not going to be a realistic situation. Our seafarers are actually going to be obsolete in a very short time, not to be a prophet of doom, but that's the reality. And I say this because I'll digress a bit. Recently, we had a request for a chief officer for a cargo vessel, but they needed the ice navigation certificate, and we couldn't find one in Ghana. So this is ice navigation. We couldn't find one chief officer, deck officer, who had that certification. So they had to go to another nationality. And we've lost that opportunity. Now, coming back to the question that you asked. So to ensure that the METIs, the ship owners and us, the SRPAs, collaborate closely to align or to ensure that our workforce pipeline aligns with the new skills that will be needed for alternative fuel operations, will be to, share real-time insights and data, working about alternative fuel vessels. Just like the General Secretary said, when we have people that have had the experience before, the seafarers, officers, ratings that have had experience before working on these alternative fuel vessels, it will be very good to engage them so that they can give first-hand accounts. They can give first-hand training on what they experienced to maybe the cadets, to other officers and ratings that haven't been on before in a comfortable environment. So after each contract, what we think or what we as a SPRA think should be done is that we collect real operational feedback from the bunkering challenges, equipment behavior, emergency response scenarios from the ship owners and the seafarers, so that this data can be fed back into the METI's curricula and then the ship owner training manuals, while we as SRPAs use this data to assess seafarer suitability for future employment or placements. Secondly, we can create a structured cadetship or internship pipeline on these alternative fuel vessels that is secure cadets sea term rotations on board programs. Now, let me speak a little bit about this sea term. We all know about sea time, but there's this organization that is actually promoting sea time. It's in the United States, Southern University of New York. They promote sea time. So every long vacation, their marine cadets will have internship on vessels. So they have agreements with these vessels. Every long vacation, be it 2 months, 3 months, they will have internship on these vessels. So by the time they are done with their 2-year diploma or 4-year degree, nautical engineering course, or whatever course that they're doing, they will have even obtained enough hours to qualify for sea time and get their COCs or COPs. Now, so when we introduce this, or when we create this structured cadetship on these alternative fuels, what it's going to do is it's going to give these cadets who are still in school sea time opportunities to have hands-on, on-board, real-time practical experiences in how to safely handle these alternative fuels on the vessels. And, of course, it will reduce the onboarding risk and improve retention via these skills attained on board. Now, also, we can look at establishing a common assessment and certification standard with ship owners on alternative fuel vessels. What I know currently is the IGF code for LNG, which has been approved by IMO. Ammonia, hydrogen, methanol, we don't have that yet. It's still in the process. But the classification societies, DNV, ABS, Lloyd's Register, they are currently training and offering some sort of classifications that suits the different types of vessels or ships. So they are working with the ship owners to offer these trainings for ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, so that they can have some sort of introduction to alternative fuel handling. They have basic training and they have the advanced training based on the positions that the personnel holds on the vessel. Also, I think that, the SRPAs must work with the ship owners and then the Met institutions to create standardized assessments like practical tests, simulator checks, onboard training checklist, skills that will be recognized by all ship owners and flag authorities. So in this case, what the SRPAs, our role will be to provide data proper real-time data to METIs, to ship owners on the feedback that we get from our seafarers that have worked or are working on this alternative fuel vessels. What I would like to add is the train the trainer. I was going to say we should design a train the trainer program. That's what I have here. But after reading the Lloyd's Register Foundation with the MJTTF framework, it's amazing. Anastasia, thank you and your team for doing such an amazing job. That framework on Train the Trainer lists everything that you would need. I mean, it is basic, but somehow also I find it very comprehensive. Of course, one cup cannot fit all. So METIs, national administrations must, customize it to fit, especially in Ghana, to fit our training curricula, our educational curricula, our systems, and ensure that, our trainers, our instructors are well-versed, are well-trained, and they even go down to, class sizes. 24:1 lecture ratio, 24 students or 24 seafarers is to 1 lecture ratio for classroom, for theoretical, and then for practical on the job is 8 seafarers is to 1 trainer, which I don't know how else to put it. It is a very proper guideline for a train the trainer. So maybe RMU can look at it, other METIs can look at it right now, rather than waiting for IMO or national administrations to look at it, rather than waiting for IMO to come out with the HTW 10/11 and finally agree on, the rules or the what do you call it, the rules, and then what we need to qualify, the qualification system for that. We can start looking at the framework for train the trainer framework that has been released by MJTTF, LRF, ICS, all of those people. Very good job that you have done. It also shows the KSA, the knowledge, skills, and attitude, which the General Secretary mentioned. Our seafarers may have knowledge, they may have the skills, but their attitude sometimes does not augur well for placing them. And that is even situational awareness, cultural differences, communication. You will get a Ghanaian seafarer, and I am proud of our seafarers because they're hardworking, they're intelligent, that our officers are well educated, speak eloquently. But when it comes to doing the work, communicating the work, then there seems to be some sort of timidity. I'm not sure why. So we have to really concentrate on training these soft skills side of them so that, they can speak out respectfully, when situations arise, so that they are not accused falsely, when it's not their fault, So if we are going in this direction, we need to look at all of this holistically. To ensure that our seafarers are trained safely in the handling of alternative fuel operations, and that our workforce will be the number 1 in West Africa to come to when you're looking for seafarers that can safely handle alternative fuels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You make some very brilliant points about the fact that we need to be proactive and not reactive and say we're waiting for the actual adoption. It will come, and already these baseline documents are going to serve as the same baseline documents that will be discussed, so we can be proactive, and then the RMU can look at the KUPs and then the KSAs that have been outlined for those courses and begin to see how they can be included in our curriculum. And also the structured cadetship programs on the alternative fuel ships is also something that is very striking, because we have a number of ships coming out, and it's a level playing field now. And for a country that is seeking to become a seafarer supply hub, you need to go before the tide. So you, as the maritime administration and then the union and then the recruitment agencies, maybe you could come together and see how to, fashion out something, and even approach some of these ship owners, and then get the training and get people on standby, and then you can train them on some of these vessels, and that will create the channel for Ghana becoming a leader in crew with alternative fuel experiences. And then also, I think together with the administration, you can see how you can vary the sea time expectations during the classroom work, during the long vacs. If there are possibilities of getting sea time for some of these, it would greatly reduce the 12 months that is needed after the graduation, and that can also help. And then time is fast spent. Whoa. Okay, but before we go, you made a remark. I just want to find out from the authority on the feedback system generally for the returning crew. If there is a feedback system between the crew, the recruitment agency, the authority, and how the authority communicates that to the METI, and how it ensures that those feedback have been corrected.
Oh, Nana, is that a question for me or the authority?
I think the authority can handle that.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon again. Normally, these are issues that are discussed at the exams committee meeting, feedbacks that come from the seafarers, and not just the seafarer, but in the industry at large. The authority, as a result of one of these, is trying to expand the scope or the membership of the committee members to incorporate members, not just in academia, but also within the industry, to try to shape inputs as far as the curriculum is concerned, and also assessment of seafarers. We have had instances where this is a bit very interesting, but we have had seafarers giving us feedbacks that they went in for exams, oral exams, and the assessor who handled them seemed not to be abreast with new development in the industry. And that they think that the question that they were asked and the answers that they gave, that they were filled, they think that it's actually the assessor who is not abreast. So we take a number of feedback, and some of these feedback are dealt with exams committee, because we think that it will help shape the curriculum. It will help shape maritime education and training in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Alaji. Okay, so it means there's already a structured feedback system, and we should see how we could use it in.
And can you let me add?
improving.
Sorry, but Please let me add this, that the authority has currently circulated a number of we've created a feedback system, and we take a number of issues, not necessarily relating to maritime education and training, but I need to mention that, but the PL unit of the authority has created a QR code, and we take a number of feedbacks that come from seafarers, and a number of them has to do with assessment and also the new development within the industry.
Yes, thank you. So time is fast spent, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our panelists for the insights they have given, and it gives the assurance that Ghana is taking some steps to align itself with the impending changes. And as the ocean centers, we stand ready to assist in some of these deliberations. I thank you all for your participation as panelists. I'll hand over back to the general moderator, Nanaya.
Nana, and thank you all for still staying here with us. But I see 3 people hands up. So Nana Boachi, would you take comments or questions from them so that we can move on?
Samuel Ofori-Dankwa.
Okay, thank you very much, Nana Boachi. I'm very grateful for such a good program Ocean Platform has really put across. Just to highlight some few things. In terms of the new fuels and that is coming into the system, as the part of the examination unit, as acting the chief examiner for the authority, what we have come up doing currently is that anytime there are assessments of candidates, we have come across some few of our Ghanaian candidates who have recently worked with the dual fuels. That's vessels that are using normal diesel and at the same time using the new fuels, either ammonia or any of them. Once we identify them after the assessment, we have been taking them aside and we are talking to few companies like Hafnia, BSM, trying to put them in so that as they grow through their career, they can come back and assist the system for assessments, because it's been very difficult around the world, like Antonio also, the last speaker, no, the last 2 speakers said, getting the right trainers is very, very difficult. Even though IMO, as it stands now, has not even come up with any model course to train to do the trainer course for the on new fuels. So the authority is putting up systems faster ahead so that we don't lag behind. And you greatly need such support from your end as and when it's necessary that you can train some of the old trainers for us. That will help. Though we are doing our side. That's information I want to put across. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the information. Kabiru.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And good afternoon to you all. Mine goes to Sandra when she made mention that she had a request for a master mariner with ice navigation qualification. So I would like to ask her if she would suggest that, since it's a specialized maritime skill, if she would suggest that we add this to our curriculum going forward. And I don't know how often she received that kind of request.
All right, Kabiru, thank you for the question. Yes, so that really struck me, and it's something that I have noted down to speak to somebody from RMU about, because this is a client that we are going to be working with. So I'm sure, and they operate, their bulk carriers operate mostly in Canada. That's why they need the ICE navigation certificate. So I'm sure it's going to be an ongoing request. So I will speak to RMU, but we have also found a training center in Finland that actually provides that training. So we are in talks with them to see how we can do that. But it will be better, it will be cost effective for us to have an instructor here in Ghana that can do it. I hope that answers your question.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
That has to do with the polar code, so you can see how to include it in your. Alaji, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I put a question out there, but there was no answer. I was asking if the Lloyd's Register programs come at FOC or with a fee.
What of their programs? And it says here.
Can you please repeat the question?
I'm asking, you were in your presentation, there were some models, courses that you had ruled out. I was asking if those courses, if a seafarer decides to enroll, is it coming at a fee or it's free of charge?
Yes, thank you. So I put it in the chat as well. So there is a distinction here that we need to make. The readily available training courses that all classification societies and training providers offer come with a fee. What the project has produced are not training courses in the format we used to know them, but it is the structure of a training course. So it gives you an outline of what a basic course for ammonia, methane, and hydrogen should cover for someone to become competent. It is then the responsibility of the different training institutes to build training courses on the back of the structure. However, the training frameworks are learning materials that are accessible through the, I've put in the chat the website www.mttf.org. They are free to download, so you can download them and get familiarized with them, but they are not actual training courses. The reason why we've done this is because these are interim standards at the moment, interim guidelines. It is up to the IMO to agree and adopt them, and then through the normal avenues, adopt them as model courses in the same way that we have currently for tankers, for example, or LNG vessels. But the frameworks are free. You can download them from the website, but they are structures. So they're not really real training courses. And this is why our call to action was in September. Please download them and please start building training courses. Please start putting them into action in order to see the effectiveness of them. Are we missing anything? Do we need to address any specific issues with regards to training even further?
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Enusa, you have it. There are guides. You can use and then provide the necessary feedback, and it would also help you in your engagements at the HTW. And then Jerome has a question. The world is changing, but these new fuels would surely catch up with fishes. But we are only looking at merchant seafarers. What is in for fishes?
If the question is for me, again, So the Maritime Just Transition Task Force project looks, as you correctly point, to seafarers alone, those that are engaged in deep sea shipping. But there are a lot of initiatives at the moment that the LR Foundation is committing its grants in order to address the most vulnerable groups or parts of the maritime workforce, because blue economy that we're discussing in today's workshop is not only seafarers, it goes beyond seafarers, it covers personnel ashore, it covers groups like the fishers that are particularly important for the blue economy realization and in your areas, in Africa, for example, or in Ghana. So even though these frameworks do not apply entirely on fishers, there are indeed parts that could be applied, and there are indeed other initiatives that look at how do we build effective capacity building in those areas and in those groups of people.
Thank you, Anastasia. Jerome, you are not left out. So fishers are not left out. Okay, so I think the time is fast spent. I'll hand over to Nanaya.
Yes, Nana Boache, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining the final workshop of the year. It would not have been possible without all of you taking time off your busy schedules to be here. I'd also like to say a very big thank you to our speakers, moderator, and panelists. We are very, very grateful. And for our final request, we ask that all of you turn on your cameras so that I can take a group photo and upload on our social media accounts. So please let's do that in the next 1 minute and then we can move on. Okay, so I'm taking it now. Okay. And thank you very much. And it was nice seeing all of you. Hopefully, we'll see you again next year. Have a lovely year and see you in 2026. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye all.
Thank you, bye.